to another episode of The Man Space. My co-host Kunle and I take great delight and great honor in week after week featuring gentlemen from different parts of the world, from different walks of life, with different perspectives and different passions, so that we showcase the diversity and different perspective of what does it take to be a real man, a man who cares about what they do, who they do it for, the community they live in, and how they show up in the world. There is not enough opportunity, safe places and spaces for men to do this, because the assumption is that men will suck it up, figure it out, and deliver. And they don't need to talk. They don't need to share. And they mentor each other professionally, but there is more to life than profession. So Kunle and I continue to build this space intentionally so that we invite folks in. And by featuring gentlemen, we are able to teach young boys what they can grow up to be, introduce mothers and fathers to some of the things we can do with our boys, because we live in an age where we focus on empowering girls, but nobody talks about empowering boys. And empowering boys is about giving them their emotional intelligence, their self-awareness, their ability to manage that with emotional intelligence. And not doing that is what creates the volcanic eruptions we see in society from different places. And punishing boys and men is not the solution. Going back to the root and giving them the tools and the opportunity to show up right is the solution. And Kunle and I are deeply committed to making that change possible through conversation, through showcasing reality, and getting the wisdom of gentlemen shared across the world. And to help us do that today is DJ Webbs. DJ and I met serendipitously through some charity work we do with Sports Philanthropy Network. It's all about doing sports for good. How do we use sports and that hero worship and that idealization of the athlete and the sports itself, and how do we pivot that to do good? And DJ comes to us from a world of creative minds. He's an artist, he's an ad and marketing professional, runs his own business. So DJ, as we get this conversation started, talk to us a little bit about the power of embracing your creativity and then running your own business to do this ad and marketing and that creative space, authentic to who you are instead of becoming a tool in somebody's hand.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'd like to thank you guys for having me on. It's such an honor. And I got a chance to see some of your episodes, so I hope that I can do it justice. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. Um, Dr. Cash, it's amazing the power that we don't know that we have. And the more you tap into it and realize it, the more free that we can be. It feels like this burden is lifting up. I'm fortunate to be in the creative space and have seen and used my abilities. So I've seen it solve problems. I've seen it touch lives. I've seen it give me freedom myself. So knowing that and being a part of that has really been something special.
Sounds good, DJ Webb. And I really want to I want you to let us into how how easy it is for you to be you. Because there is a certain expectation people have about people who are creative on how they should behave and how the society wants them to look like, and then things that they want them to I mean, to do, go through, go to, and all those stuff. But I believe self-awareness, you understanding yourself, holds a great key to you becoming the best version of yourself. How do you do this? And then how do you cope with the demand that comes with what you are doing? I mean, the niche that you have carved for yourself.
You know, thank you for even acknowledging that there's a lot of pressure that comes with that. You know, because a lot of people take it for granted, and it is tough for a lot of creatives. You know, whether you be a creative in advertising or an artist, it's so much pressure because it's such a subjective world, right? So the more you put out there, your work is indicative of it's a piece of you in a way. It's not concrete and solid as math. It's so so subjective. So um it can definitely be tough, but the way you have to just keep pushing and fight through it. And that's one of the things that my company, Multitude Arts, stand for, and that self-awareness that you mentioned. We're all about doing meaningful and purposeful work. And that's where it's a place, Multitude Arts is a place of art meets legacy. And although we have art products and have creative services, but our entire mission is for people to be intentional and purposeful about building their legacy. And we want to reflect that through our art and through the lens of legacy and art. And we want to do that for individuals, community organizations, and corporations and their brand, to bring about this self-awareness that, hey, all of us have something to give this world from an individual standpoint, and setting the business portion aside, but from individual community engagements, we all have something to provide this world. But what is it? And through our work as artists or as creative, the artists that work with my company, and starting with myself, it's like how can we, one, suggest like everyone has a legacy, and how do we implement that? How do we touch lives? How do we touch on different social issues, self-advocacy, and talk about our mindset. A lot of times people think about, hey, the talk about the wealth gap. Well, legacy in my head is kind of like an old notion of wealth and physical objects, like wealth and your home or your kids. But to me, it's like, let's reinvent that so that it's less about tangible things and more about that self-awareness that you mentioned, Kunle, and what we're building and how we touch others and impact the world.
What you're saying is absolutely music to my ears, Derrick. And the reason why is I come from the Eastern Hindu tradition, where we worship goddess of wealth. We have worship goddess of courage, knowledge, and wealth. And as you say, wealth is not material. Material is one aspect. There are 8 different forms of wealth. And the first one is nature. What's around us, what sustains us, that is our primary wealth. The food we eat, the relationships we build, the knowledge and wisdom we gain, because knowledge is different from wisdom. Knowledge is knowing, wisdom is knowing when to use it, right? I always remind people, knowledge is knowing tomato is a fruit, wisdom is not to put it in a fruit salad, right? You don't put a tomato in a fruit salad, it will no longer be a fruit salad. So there is courage and knowledge and wisdom and all these things that are our wealth, our human relationships. That's the most priceless one, right? So I love how you're using creativity and doing good through creativity to move people to a different definition of what wealth and prosperity looks like. How is that landing for people? And what are some of the ways in which you're having this experience for them? Because not words are always going to connect, but as a creative, you can do it in other ways. How do you do that?
Yeah, and that is, I'm glad, thank you for asking that. 'Cause I'm glad you asked, because we can always talk about it, but now, Dr. Guys, it's about showing it. And that's what we want to do, is show it through our work. And I have this piece called Ignite Your Future. And when you first look at it, I want people to see like this match being lit, and the flame is an eagle. Um, but if you look closely at the tip of the match, you know how the tip of a match is like dark, right, when it's burning. But at the tip of the match is not only the tip of a match, it's a person in there sitting, and they have their arm crossed and sort of looking away with their back turned to you. So it's about showing it and having now those kind of stories that help us put it in context on what legacy means, what it means to impact people, and not just impact people, but take care of self awareness, and mental health. And that piece pretty speaks on so many levels, because it talks about from a mental health perspective, in addition to when you are in sort of a dark place, rising like a phoenix, and it's a match because it's like rising at that occasion and at that moment when opportunity strikes. And so we have to, you know, be aware, and now is the time. It's the new movement for us, from Multitude Art side, to talk about art and legacy and show that. And our main mission is to the main mission is to just have 1 million, try and touch 1 million people to at least think differently about their legacy and be conscious of it, and and be aware of what they're actually leaving, what they're building, and the whole thing. So
Wow, that's so insightful, and I mean, what you're doing is laudable and commendable, DJ Webb. I, I mean, I heard you say something about mental health, and I kind of, pick an interest in that, because that's the space I've been working for close to a decade now.
mm,
And I know mental health speaks to, art and nature. There is a connection, with art, and mental health, nature and mental health as well. I want you to talk to us on how we can use art to influence some things, I mean, great things now around us positively, in terms of, what we do, and then our intentionality about that particular area of art, which might be one of the things you do.
how it can, what are the ways that art can influence? Yeah, absolutely. How we're taking a stand. Art can influence in a number of ways. So it helps. One, it helps with relaxation. Yeah, so art in nature, and art has a way of also having relaxation. It's been known to um, give people sort of like this healing power, in the same context what dogs do for people in the hospital, or what family does, when they visit. It has this relaxation and healing sort of like power, and properties outside of the spiritual area. So spirituality, animals in the hospital, and art falls in the same line. And that's a more broader perspective. The movement the movement that I'm working on and interested in, is the conversations I'm having, is also working on art as sort of like an emotional management tool, and not just emotional management, in a sense where I imagery, sort of try to inspire people. And I wanted to have these mundane objects, right? Which is why we have products like a mug, or a serving tray, or a hoodie. These typical things that people have. Now we place our image on it. For example, ignite your future, and now the piece sort of comes alive and has a more inspirational message that's attached to, this piece. And now this piece really is not just stands for you, but it's a reminder to build a legacy, and that you have something special within you, and you have this gift that you need to give to the world. And so we want to make the mundane a lot more a lot more interesting, and a lot more compelling, and actually impact people's lives, even if it's the smallest bit. It's like to switch that mindset to be like, oh yeah, I do have some type of aha moment, like, hey, okay, this is cool. I understand what, that I do have something. And then hopefully, turn that on. And at the same time, we still have eye candy if you don't want to go that deep. Yeah, there's always yeah. But
It's interesting that you address all levels where people could be emotionally, right? Because some may be afraid to delve deeper because they don't want to find what's down there. And so you address the superficial, but when in their quiet moments they want to go deep, it's still there in the same thing. And that, to me, is masterful, right? And that's what creativity does. And one of the places I want to go with this is you're using art for good. I come from a world of using finance for good. And here we are collaborating and working in the Chicago area, sports for good. And before the program, we talked about how there is the common thread. There is good in everything if we approach it the right way. Talk to us about how you are intentionally creating that good impact and collaborating and finding opportunities, partnerships, clients, not-for-profits for social impact. How are you identifying and collaborating? And how are you seeing that magnifying and geometrically increasing the impact in our society?
oh yeah, and this is that's a I'm glad you brought up the collaborators, because that's one of the main goals over the next from now to over the next couple of years, to do to collaborate more, find strategic partnerships, and people where this just that just share the same values and of our company, and share like in a similar mission. Of course, we won't do the same, but to your point, it's just like there's good for good. We just had recently did an event for Fame Fest, which is a Chicago art center, and they are all about the community, and they want to build their art center and let people know, like, hey, we are here, and the arts are around. They do media and creative writing and so forth. And it's those kind of collaborations that really interest us and that we want to be a part of. Because at the end of the day, even from a corporate standpoint, whether it be a community organizations or a corporation who has a brand, we don't want to mention. I'm not in the business of necessarily mentioning a legacy all the time. Now it will come up quite often because that's sort of our driving force, and that's the foundation. But it can be said in other ways, right? As far as, like, whether it's heritage or making an impact or sustainability, it can come out in various ways. But at the end of the day, it all ladders back up to uh, our values, and the sentiment that we want to get across, and the key takeaway that we want the individuals and community organizations and a brand to have, at the end of the day.
Oh, sounds great. That sounds great. Um, Speaking for someone out there now who is saying, how do I reach out to Derrick? Maybe they want to connect with you. They want to, even maybe they need your service. How do we connect with Derrick?
Yeah, absolutely. If you have, what's the one story that you want to tell? Yeah, I would ask anyone. What's the one story that you want to tell? Let's chat and figure out how they can come to life from an art perspective, but not just from an art perspective, from our perspective, but whatever your business objective is as a company and as an individual, whatever story that you've been holding in your heart that you would like to see, come to life. You can reach us at multitudearts.com. It's multitude like it sounds, multitude arts with an s.com. And we're on IG and Facebook under the same thing, Multitude Arts. Feel free to reach out. You can reach out on our website as well.
We will
But
make
we have,
sure. Go ahead.
all right, yeah. We're not just all serious. We do want to have fun with what we do. So that's going to come in our collaboration and whatever project you have and the tonality that comes out of that, and just us getting together and chatting and finding creative solutions together.
I love the fact that you brought out the fun part, Derrick,
Yeah.
because life is supposed to be enjoyed. Life is supposed to be lived to its fullest from moment to the next one. Because otherwise, we are just like hamsters on a wheel running to run. And that defeats the purpose of the very essence of life. So, yes, creativity has to be fun, it has to be joyful. So, that brings up a question for me, and this will be the closing question for you.
Yeah.
How do you run a business and juggle the stresses that come with it, with all the discounting that happens for being a creative, and yet embrace joy in your life?
Well, it starts with meeting beautiful people like you guys. It really does. You have to stay tuned, and it's all about what you feed yourself and your emotions. You have to fill up your vessel with quality items. Even through social media, of course, social media is always to talk about quality versus quantity, but it's all about being a part of organizations that are positive, that has uplift, and um, getting out here and finding, those people, and also being open to receiving, you know, good people. You know, that you know that that's helped me a lot, and even I tell, like, the the young people, don't go off into silos, and you have to stay in touch, because how can you make an impact if you don't try to connect in some sort of way? Now, we all going to have our moments where we may need to fill our cup up and off to the side, but at the same time, don't let that be a stopping point for you. Just have it be a sort of like a yellow light and not a red light.
That is brilliantly said. And thank you so much, Derrick, DJ Webb. I know you go by both names. So thank you
Yes.
so much for making time to have this conversation. You have given our community a lot of food for thought. And this officially makes you a member of the community. And we will continue to build with you, bring you in, and you and I will continue to do things. I know Kunle will be talking to you about potentially doing things in Africa and some of the areas that he has his heart and passion set on. And so let's keep building, because that is the purpose of this community. We share, we care, we build, and together, intentionally, we thrive. And to our audience out there, please remember, don't give up your creativity, even if it doesn't pay the bills. Do what you need to do to pay the bills, but continue to feed your creativity, because that is the spark inside of you. When you stifle it, an important part of you dies, the joy inside of you dies. And so please take a page from the wisdom shared by Derrick and build your creativity alongside everything else. And I now turn this over to my co-host Kunle to share his words of wisdom as he takes us off the air.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kaz, and a special big ups to Derrick DJ Webb, who had really come to share many wisdom and words that are so inspirational right here on this edition of The Man's Space. He mentioned something that struck me, the fact that you need to fill your vessel with quality stuff. And that resonates well with with that saying that you cannot pour from an empty cup. Take care of yourself first. And then we're saying this to all men who are watching and all women as well, but most importantly, the men. Yeah, the time has come for you to realize that you need to get in something for yourself instead of you pouring out all the time and then living in that self-denial that you are, like in quote, a Superman who keeps giving and giving without taking in. So that time has come for you to realize that fact that you need to take care of yourself. You need to get in those things that will help you. And then you need to also feel your vulnerability, show it as well. He is not weak to speak whenever you need help. And that is what this show is all about. And that's why we're out there to really help you whenever you need. So thank you so much for watching. Till we come your way next time, just keep being the best version of you.